one of the most difficult things to understand in CSS are the margins and the paddings. But basically, these two are not difficult to understand. But for you to be able to understand these two very well, let me explain. Margins are actually used to create spaces around an element. You should always remember that margins mean outside of the defined borders, outside. So if you want to put a margin for a particular element on the page, it means you want to put a space outside of that element. That is what margins means. Okay, so for example, take a look at this box. So this box, if we have an element within it, this element, then the spaces around here, the spaces around, okay, let me use this brush. The spaces around here are called the margin for this particular block. The spaces outside of the element is called the margin. For this bigger box, the spaces outside this block is the margin for this particular block. Likewise, padding. The difference between margin and padding is that padding is inside while margin is outside. So the padding for this bigger block is here. This is the padding. Then the padding for this smaller box is inside. Let's define that on our web page. We already have a block defined on our HTML. Div ID equal to my block. And in my CSS, my block has been targeted, which is the ID. Then we have defined a border around that block. Let's see how it looks like on the page. If I reload my page, we have this. Now we want to put a margin outside the block. The margin means the space outside this particular block. So let's try to do that. Margin to be 20 pixels. Look at the screen the way it is at the moment. If I reload the page now, you can see we have more spaces here. Then we have more spaces at the top of the page that is below my new page. Then we have more spaces at the bottom. Then there is also more spaces by the right because we have applied margin to all the four sides of this box. Margin is always outside. But if I define a padding, let's say the padding is 20 pixels instead of margin, and I reload the page, now you can see that it has applied margin padding within the block, giving us a space of 20 pixels from the border to the text. Then by the left side at the bottom, and it's always applied to the right also. You can define padding for a particular side of the box. For example, padding left. If I reload the page, so this is going to apply to only the left. We can define this to be padding top, which is going to be for the top of the page, as you can see. And we can have padding bottom, and we also have padding right, which is this. There is a shortcut. Instead of having to type in padding bottom, padding left, padding right, and padding top, you can specify 4 items for padding, just like padding to be equal to, you want the top of the page to have 20 pixels, followed by the next thing after the top is the right, followed by the right, which is 20 pixels, then followed by the left. We have done the top, followed by the right, followed by the bottom. We are actually moving in a clockwise direction: top, right, bottom, left. So the first one here, 20 pixel, represents the top. Then this 10 pixel, which is the second one, represents the right. Then the third one represents the bottom. Then the last one represents the left sidebar. So let's reload the page and see how it looks like. Now we have that the top is, based on what we have, 20, then followed by the right, then followed by the bottom, which is 30, and followed by the left, which is. So this same method can also be used for the margin. The margin also follows the same process of 40 pixel, that is the top, then the right, which is 30 pixel, then the bottom, which is 20 pixel, then the left side, which is 10 pixel. Let's have a look of how that looks like, which is this.